Hi, Dr. Adrian Larson here, and in today's video I'm going to follow up on the things we talked about in the last video about auriculotherapy, which in my opinion every acupuncturist should know it and should use it because it is effective, it's fast, it's safe, you can treat any part of the body, it's convenient, your patient doesn't have to disrobe. It's got so many advantages and so few disadvantages that there's no reason at all more people shouldn't be doing it. And that's why I'm making these videos. Due to poor training, poor instruction, maybe some confusion about how to do it, unfortunately there's just not enough acupuncturists out there that are getting all the benefits they could. And I'm on a mission to change that. In today's video, we're going to talk about the tools that you can use for effective auriculotherapy. But first, we need to talk about going beyond the basics. Now you remember in the last video, we talked about how if you have a good chart, a good tool, you know about master points, and you know about condition points, then you're ready to treat. And that's all true. But I mentioned, there's more advanced work that you can do, and really there's some advanced work that's maybe so advanced you don't want to do it. You can go into, for example, the Nogier work, where you've got 3 different phases of the same ear, and all the points change depending on which phase you're in, and you can get really complicated with it. But if we keep it simple, if we keep it to where we're treating a specific point or a specific set of points for a specific problem, then there's still an awful lot that we can get done. Now, I've had all the training. I've gone to the seminars, I've trained with the best and all the big names, and I understand the more advanced work. And it's wonderful. And I'm not belittling it, I have nothing against it. But for the average practitioner who doesn't have a lifetime to devote to becoming an absolute expert in all the nuances of everything auriculotherapy, I want to talk about how to quickly and easily get results. That seems to me like what most people want. So, one thing that you've got to know, if you're treating a point like this, and it's a specific point, it's a single point, and you're doing it for a specific purpose, you've got to know a few things about that point so that you can provide effective treatment. First, you have to be able to locate it. And when we talk about tools today, we're going to talk about point locating. Additionally, you have to know the right way to treat that point, the right parameters. If you're treating it electrically, what are the electrical parameters you need to use? Let's talk a little bit about frequency. Frequency is one thing that seems to confuse a lot of practitioners, but it doesn't need to, because frequency is really simple. All you have to do is keep in mind that frequency means the number of times per second that you get a treatment pulse. So if it's an electrical device and it's treating 10 times every second, that's 10 pulses per second. That's called 10 hertz. And that's the frequency. 10 hertz, 20 hertz, 40 hertz, whatever it is, that's the number of electrical impulses per second that are put into that point. Why do you need to know about frequency? Well, it's because just the very next level in advancement beyond finding a point and treating it is treating it with the right frequency. So let's take a look at what that means. Here on this chart you can see that different areas of the ear are colored differently and are given different frequencies in the chart. And this is the work of Dr. Paul Nogier, who developed the frequency charts for the ear, did a tremendous job, figured out which areas of the ear correspond with which treatment frequencies. And don't let this scare you. This looks kind of intimidating, like there's a lot of information there. But if I put it up like this, you can see that in each colored area, there's one frequency that you use. It's not hard to do at all. So if you're in this yellow area, for example, the recommended frequency is 9.1 hertz, or 9.1 pulses per second. If you're down here in the concha, in the red area, 4.6 hertz. Really simple. So wherever your point is located, you treat according to that frequency. It's just a matter of location. Okay, the next thing you need to know about treatment tools is polarity. Now, when you think about it in acupuncture, there is always the idea of balance. Whether a point has too much qi, too little qi, the idea is to bring everything into balance. And so you tonify something if it's too low, you bring it up, and you sedate if it's too high, you bring it down. And tonifying and sedating is kind of one of the foundational principles of acupuncture treatment. and it works exactly the same way when you're treating the ear. So if you're looking at a point, you have to ask yourself, okay, is this point that I'm treating, does it need to be tonified or sedated? Does it need positive voltage or negative voltage? Because just like a magnet that has a positive and a negative side, electrical impulses always have a polarity as well. They can be positive, they can be negative. It has to do with the direction of flow of the electrons. Are you putting electrons in, or are you pulling them out? Are you tonifying, or are you sedating? Pretty simple. Haven't lost you so far, have I? Frequency, that's how many pulses per second. Polarity, are you putting in, are you pulling out? Tonifying or sedating. If you know those two things, you're going to amplify the effectiveness of your treatment. If you can treat with the right polarity, treat with the right frequency, and reliably locate the right point. That's the formula for success. Now I want you to notice something. I didn't change that 4-step formula that I talked about earlier. If you have a good chart, a good tool, you have master points and you have the condition points, all I did was say when you're treating those points, treat them with the correct polarity, with the correct frequency. It doesn't add any additional steps, it just adds additional effectiveness. So with that in mind, we've got to talk about tools. And here is where it can get sometimes a little frustrating, because the problem is that there aren't a lot of great tools out there. I said it, I know it. When you go, you spend a lot of money, you go to a training seminar, you go train with a top expert. I've done it a lot of times. And it's sometimes frustrating because you come out of there having just been demonstrated some really amazing, excellent work using some really advanced equipment, only to find out that the equipment's not available. Either it can't be bought in this country or it's no longer made. And so you've learned all this great work and you're going, well, that was fun. Now what do I do? Well, I've seen there's a lot of Band-Aids and workarounds that I've seen that have been produced. So, using different colors to try to come up with positive and negative because you don't have a tool that'll do it. Or you don't have frequencies, and so you just kind of use a universal frequency. And I've recommended that in the past when there haven't been good tools available. Then I've tried to use the Band-Aids and the workarounds myself because I want the effects. So let's talk about the tools on the market, and let's talk about what really works and what doesn't, how you can look for a good tool, and maybe I can give you some pointers that'll help. So if we focus here, I've got on this table my little collection of auriculotherapy tools. I'm going to start with low tech. So you can see here, I've got my little ear, and this is about as low tech as you get. Well, actually, this is about as low tech as you get. I've got a wooden probe, and I've got my ear, and I can take this probe, and I can probe for points. I can locate the point, and then I can, when I find a tender point, then I can just press on it with my probe. I can maybe press on it repeatedly, and I've given a treatment. Literally, this is a piece of wood that somebody carved. That's all you have to have. You could do it with a toothpick, but that's not really the advanced work. You're kind of guessing and praying, hoping that you can locate the right point, and then for treatment, all you can really do is press on it. Same thing with a metal probe. Seen this done before, and it works in exactly the same way, and these probes are great. You can probe very precisely. That ball end glides nicely over the ear, and if you've got nothing else, you got to have some kind of a mechanical probe. This one is spring-loaded. This is called a Teishin. And so you can provide a pulsed Teishin treatment. You can even do a tapping spring treatment. And each tap, you can see the spring compresses and comes back. So these are some of the low-tech tools. Do they do frequency? No, of course not. Do they do polarity? Nope. Do they do location? Not very well. But if it's all you got, it's all you got. Well, let's move on to some electrical tools. As you can see, I've got quite a collection of electrical tools here. And I've tried them all, and they all kind of have their strengths and their weaknesses. First of all, something that you have to keep in mind when you're working with the ear, and this is a life-size ear, it's not very big. So if you're using something that's large and cumbersome, say this thing, which is, massive compared to the ear, and it's got a big old massive ball tip because it's got both electrical and a laser in it, and you're trying to find a point that is extremely precise, a point that may be no more than 0.5 millimeter right there. And you've got the patient, you've got their head, they're trying to hold still, you're trying to move around. It's just cumbersome to have something so big. And if it's heavy, that adds to the problem. And if you combine that with the fact that it doesn't have the polarity or it doesn't have the frequencies, then it doesn't turn out to be a really great tool. This little tool, first time I tried this, true story, I had one of my employees who also happens to be my brother and who's helping record this video right now. And I said, here, I just got this new tool, I want to try this out. And so I turned it on, I set it up, I found a point on his ear, I hit the button, and I swear he screamed like a little girl because it delivered a shock that I believe was designed to incapacitate a charging bull. And so I decided really quick that maybe this wasn't the best tool, aside from the size and shape and cumbersomeness of trying to even use the thing on the ear, just not the right design. Also, I note that it says diagnosis and cure. Both of those are medical terms. Interesting terms to use on a device that is not FDA cleared. Now you're making medical claims and you've got a legal problem. Well, so other devices going through similarly, large with a big weight at the back, so it's unwieldy. Imagine trying to sign your name with a pen like that. And when you're doing auriculotherapy, you're doing something that is more precise than signing your name. So if you have something that's really big and unwieldy, you might as well be doing, a big fat black magic marker. It's good for graffiti, might be great for tagging, writing in the bathroom stall, but it's just not going to be great for the precision work necessary for auricular treatment. Then there's some other tools. Take a look at, for example, this one where you've got a wrist strap and then you've got this nasty sharp-pointed little nail that you can use in the patient's ear. Doesn't do polarity, it does do polarity, but not in sensing, and it doesn't do the right frequencies. Similarly, we've got something like that over here with this kind of strange-looking probe, which actually is a little better because at least it's small and light and precise, and you can really do precision work here, getting into the patient's ear. But again, it's got some limitations with regard to frequency, polarity. Got some other tools here. Great big one like this. It's got a little bit of a spring-loaded probe, but the tip rattles and it's just all loose, and it doesn't tighten up or anything. And so you're just going to be really sloppy trying to find points with that. I had high hopes for this little guy because it is so small. I mean, you could sign your name with that. And it doesn't have quite as loose of a tip, although it's still loose, still spring-loaded. But I found that the combination of that loose tip and the fact that it has really limited, it's got an on-off switch and a sensitivity button, and that's really it. Really limited features, just not a great solution. This, nope. That brings me to this guy. This is the Stim Plus Pro. This is a tool that I really like for several reasons. First of all, it's extremely lightweight and it's got a nice balance to it. Secondly, the way that you hold this, you don't have to have extra cables and wrist straps and things because you can simply touch right here on the silver, you can touch the patient's ear, and then I like to hold it like this. It gives me precise control because I've got my finger out there, and then when I find the point that I want, I just press the button and I can treat. And that curved tip makes it nice if you're trying to get into some of the areas that are perhaps less accessible in the ear, then it's an excellent tool. Now, does it do polarity? No. It's a great point finder, but it's not going to find both positive and negative polarity points. And it doesn't do all the frequencies. It does 5, 10, or 20 hertz. And so if you want to do polarity and frequency, you're not going to get that out of this. But this is affordable, it's convenient, it's very effective, and if you're only going to have a very basic tool to do very basic work, this is the tool to have. I've not found anything better. Now I want to say a word or two about FDA. See if you can guess how many tools on this table are FDA cleared and legal to use on a patient in this country. The answer is 3. The rest of these are not FDA cleared. They're imported from overseas, who knows where, and honestly, if you want to start using stuff like this on a patient, you've got a little bit of a problem, particularly a liability issue and a malpractice issue. If there ever comes up a problem or there ever is an issue, you don't want to be using the foreign knockoff of the real tool. So I got a couple of these guys here. Do they look familiar? They're both knockoffs of the real thing, and they sell for a whole lot less. You can get this, one of these guys out of China for a few bucks. Reliability, I don't know. Safety, I don't know. Legality, nope, not legal. So I would recommend just stay away from that. If you're a professional, get yourself a professional tool and use a professional tool. So Stim Plus Pro, great tool. As an added bonus, I wanted to just pull out this little guy. Let's see, it's designed for hand therapy, but it's got ear attachments. So all you have to do is read Chinese, plug some stuff in, and go attach it to patients' ears and carry around a briefcase with you, and you can get tremendous results, I'm sure. But sadly, not legal, not convenient, not light, not good. So that's kind of the state of the market right now. Now, are there other tools? Yeah, there really are some great tools out there. And some of them are not legal for use in this country, and that's the problem. Some of the best stuff out there, you can't get here because it's not FDA cleared, you can't legally import it, and if you do, you're running yourself a risk. And that's too bad, because I'd really like to get my hands on some of those things, and I'll bet you would too. However, all is not lost, because I have found a way. And in my next video, I want to talk to you about a tool that I found that I've recently started to use and have had tremendous results, because it does everything I've talked about, everything that a good tool needs to do, and it's FDA cleared, and it's 100% legal, and it's affordable, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. So, we're going to cover that in the next video. Meanwhile, take a look at your practice. What tools do you have for auriculotherapy? Is it time for an upgrade? Is it time to get something professional? Is it time to add that extra little bit to your skills by having the right tool in your practice to get the kind of results you want? Can't wait to tell you all about it. I will talk to you in the next video.